Welcome to your first set of video notes for geometry. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that what you learn in this lesson is going to be useful all year long. The bad news is it's a little dry. This may be one of the duller lessons that you have. I'm sorry, but it is necessary and it is very important. So let's begin. Let's take a quick look at the objectives of this section. We're going to understand the vocabulary requirements. Vocabulary is important in geometry. It may be the most important thing. We're going to learn about proper notation. This is very important. This is like the punctuation of geometric writing. In addition, we're going to learn to draw proper diagrams using the conventions that will help everyone else to understand what you're trying to get across, especially your teacher. And we'll also learn how to parse through what you can assume from a diagram that I present to you or that you see. Let's start with vocabulary. There is nothing more important than learning the vocabulary of geometry. There is nothing more important than learning the vocabulary of geometry. There is nothing more important than learning the vocabulary of geometry. Normally I won't read these verbatim, but as you may guess, this one's kind of important. We're going to learn it. If you want to write a song with those as lyrics, please feel free and share it with the class. It'll be fun. The first way we're going to reinforce vocabulary is through the vocabulary chart. At the beginning of your unit guide, there's always going to be a vocabulary chart. We're going to fill in the definitions, and you get to figure out which words go with them and draw some helpful diagrams. Take a moment and read through this section. You can pause if you need more time. When you encounter a definition in your notes, the expectation is that you will turn to your unit guide and your vocabulary chart and locate the term that you just read about. In the word column, we're going to write the word collinear, and we're going to fill in any blanks in the definition. Next, we're going to draw a helpful diagram that'll be useful to refer back to when you're studying for tests and quizzes. We'll start with a diagram of points that are collinear. Since we want this diagram to be useful, feel free to use a ruler to make sure your points really are collinear. There are 3 collinear points. One very useful way to make sure you know exactly what a word means is to also know what the word does not mean. And so I'm also going to draw an example of points that are not collinear. So here's a point, a second point, and a third point that doesn't lie on a direct line. Now we'll go back to the notes page, and you'll see another definition, coplanar points. Take a moment and do this one yourself. You can pause the video here. On your next page in the unit guide, you'll see the second way we have for you to learn your vocabulary. You will be creating a Quizlet at Quizlet.com. If you haven't been there before, it's actually very easy to use. Lots of students have done it before. You know somebody who's done it before. So take a moment, read through this block of information. When you create your Quizlet, send your teacher a link so that we can grade them. Our last method for reinforcing vocabulary is to look at component parts of words, prefixes, roots, suffixes. This is very convenient to do and helpful to do because most of our words come from 2 languages, Greek and Latin. Those of you taking Latin will have a bit of an edge in learning vocabulary. Take a look at the first example. We're going to break down the word collinear. There's a prefix, co. Take a moment and look up its meaning. I often use dictionary.com in order to look these up. Remember that with prefixes, including a hyphen at the end will give you better results. We'll take the first definition. Now we'll do the same with the root word linear. relating to lines. Now we look at the pieces and see how it relates to the original word, collinear. I'm going to phrase this as points together on the same line. Your turn. Try this with the word orthographic, and then we'll look at this in class. Great. I hope that was interesting, and I hope it shed some light on why we use the word orthographic for those types of drawings. For the rest of the notes, I'm going to ask you to read them on your own, and then I'll make commentary, and then you can take a quick check to make sure you understand each section. The first section will be on points, lines, and planes. Read to here. When naming points, there can only be one point A, for example, in a diagram. A diagram can contain multiple figures, and so this is where sometimes people make mistakes. Here's an example of what not to do. Here's a single diagram with two angles. Both of them have a point A. This is a problem. Even though they're different angles, they are part of the same diagram, and so we need to change that A to something else. Now this is a good diagram. I'm also going to emphasize the symbols on top of the name of a line. They can be hard to read, especially in the video. So I'm going to emphasize line AB. This is a double arrow on top of the AB. Also, here's a rough sketch of planes ABC and ABD intersecting in line AB. Now try this MathXL assignment and make sure you've got all the details correct. Pause the video now, and then when you're done, read the next section. I'm going to go back and just emphasize the decorations on top of the names of the rays and the line segments. Here are the notations on the rays, and by the way, that last notation is never correct. And here are the notations on the segments. Notice there are no arrows on either end of the bar. Now please check yourself with the next MathXL Tier 1 assignment, and then read the next section. When we talk about angles, with the middle letter being the vertex, the example that was incorrect looks like this. Don't copy this. That's what angle CAB would look like. Now please go into MathXL and check yourself on the next piece of the Tier 1 assignment. Then read the next section. I have no additional comments to make on this section. Go ahead and go to MathXL and check your understanding. Then read the next section. Again, I have no additional comments for this section. Go ahead and check your understanding on the next part of the Tier 1 assignment, and then read the next section. Before you do the final Tier 1 assignment, please remember, notation and proper diagrams and interpreting diagrams correctly are things that will follow us all year long. In April, in May, if you use incorrect notation, that will be some minor points off. Please don't do that. Please make sure you learn this very well. We understand that it's dry, but it will be well worth it in the end. Please do the final Tier 1 assignment, and then you'll be able to move on to the knowledge check. Thank you.